All right, let's dive into something that's pretty wild when you think about it. What if I told you that talking about your goals, telling everyone what you're going to do, is the very thing that makes you fail? Sounds crazy, right? But stick with me here. So think about this. Have you ever had that burst of inspiration? You're all fired up about a new project, maybe starting a business or finally getting fit. You're so excited, you tell your friends, you post it online, and then a few days later, poof, the motivation is just gone. If you're not in your head right now, trust me, you are not alone.
Yeah, there's actually a reason this happens. It's a psychological quirk we can call the premature praise trap. And it's this sneaky little loop that can completely derail even our best intentions. To really get our heads around it, let's look at a simple story that explains it perfectly.
So, in a small village, there's this young guy named Simon. And Simon, well, he's got big dreams. He's ambitious, full of ideas, and he really, truly wants to make something of himself. But the thing is, despite all his plans for shops and pottery and all these amazing things, his hands stay empty. His life just doesn't change. He's completely stuck. Simon's story is basically a masterclass in this cycle of inaction. See, he has this one very specific habit that keeps getting in his way. It's a habit that feels amazing in the moment, but in the long run, it's just wrecking his dreams. Let's watch how this unfolds. So this is Simon's move. Before he's even hammered a single nail or bought a piece of wood, what does he do? He heads straight to the village market and makes a huge, grand announcement. And the reaction is exactly what you'd expect. People clap, they cheer him on, they tell him how brilliant he is. And that night, Simon feels like he's on top of the world. He feels successful. He feels important. It's almost like he's already done the thing he just talked about. But then, the next morning comes, it's time to actually do the hard work. And that feeling, it's gone. The drive, the energy, it has completely evaporated. And look, this wasn't just a one-off. After the shop idea fizzles out, he gets a new passion, pottery. So, what do you think he does? Yep, he gathers everyone in the village square and announces his next big thing. And, of course, everyone tells him how great he is all over again. You see the pattern here, right? It just keeps happening. He makes a big announcement, he gets all this praise and validation, and that good feeling is so satisfying that it totally replaces the need to actually do anything. The praise becomes the reward, so why bother getting his hands dirty with clay? So as you can imagine, Simon is feeling pretty ashamed and just stuck. But one evening, a quiet village elder comes up to him, and this elder is about to offer him a lesson that's going to change everything. It's just a simple story, but it holds the absolute key to breaking this cycle of failure. The elder shows Simon two little seeds. The first one, he holds it up for everyone to admire. He puts it on a rock in the sun where it gets all this attention and praise. The second seed, though, he just quietly plants it in the ground. No big show, he covers it with soil. And what happens? Well, the announced seed, the one on the rock, it just dries up and gets taken by birds. But the silent seed, the one hidden away and cared for quietly, it starts to grow into a strong little plant. Now, this story is more than just a nice little metaphor. It's actually pointing to a very real psychological thing that happens in our brains. What the elder was explaining is fundamental to how we respond to social validation. So let's break down the actual science behind this whole thing. Okay, so here's the deal. When you tell people your big plan and they all praise you for it, your brain gets a little hit of dopamine. You know, that feel-good chemical? It feels like a reward. And that social thumbs up creates what you could call a premature sense of completion. It basically tricks your brain into thinking the job is already done, that this new goal is already part of who you are. And that feeling, it completely short-circuits the motivation you need to do the actual hard work. So this is the trap, right here, step by step. First, you announce your goal. Second, you get praise for it. Third, that praise makes you feel like you've already accomplished something. And fourth, that feeling of accomplishment kills your motivation. It's a vicious, self-sabotaging loop. And the elder's wisdom really just nails it. The energy you need for action gets wasted in words. Every single bit of energy you spend talking about what you're going to do is energy you can no longer spend doing it. It's like you're letting all the air out of the balloon before it can even take off. Okay, so Simon has this huge aha moment. It all clicks. He finally understands the trap he's been falling into over and over again. But, knowing is one thing. Doing is another.
So the real question is, what's he going to do with this knowledge? Well, this is where his story really begins.
He decides to try something completely different, radical even. He picks a small, totally manageable goal. He's just going to build a simple wooden chair. But here's the most important part, the new rule he sets for himself. He is going to tell absolutely no one, not a soul, until it's done. And suddenly, without all that pressure from everyone watching, he's free. He can make mistakes, he can learn and struggle and actually get better without worrying about what anyone thinks. He just works quietly, day after day, and the work itself becomes the main thing, not just the flashy idea of it. And when that chair is finally finished and he sits on it for the first time, wow, the feeling is a million miles away from that cheap, empty pride he got from applause. This is different. This is real, earned satisfaction. This is the pride that only comes from doing the thing. And that becomes his new way of life. He builds a table next, then a shelf. He never talks about his plans anymore. He just works in silence and lets his finished work do all the talking for him. And over the years, he earns a totally new kind of respect from the village, not for his big promises, but for his actual results. Simon's story is such a powerful blueprint for all of us, isn't it? It's not just some old fable. It's a really practical guide on how to protect our own goals and actually make them happen. So the big question is, how do we apply this to our own lives? Okay, so here's the takeaway. We need to treat our new goals just like that silent seed. First, keep your big new goals private, especially when they're still fragile and just starting out. Second, pour all that initial energy and excitement into action, not into announcements. Third, learn to love the process, not just the praise you might get. And finally, let your finished work do the talking for you. Trust me, it will speak volumes. I mean, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? The world does not need to know what you are building. It only needs to see what you have built. It's all about shifting your focus away from seeking approval for what you might do and toward earning respect for what you have done. Your results become the announcement. So I'll leave you with this final thought. What's that one big idea you have right now? That fragile new dream you're excited about? What do you think might happen if, this time, you did things differently? If you decided to protect it, to grow it quietly, and to just start building it in silence?